Wonderful. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 9th of this education series. I want to thank My Happy Place for this opportunity and the teachers who've been able to put this together. Clifford on Watch, Patricia, Echesa Karaoke, Fatima Mohammed. Today, we are really excited because we want to know what young learners have to say. And this particular education webinar series is focused on education, character, and values. So there is a specific focus on character and values. We know that learners are concerned about their education owing to the closures by COVID. We know learners are concerned about national exams, repeating the academic year, isolation, getting infected by COVID, losing loved ones to COVID, and everything that comes with closures of COVID and so on and so forth. So what we want to learn from our young panelists is what they have done personally or do on a daily basis to help stay healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally. We want to know, we want to learn as parents and as adults in your lives about what you see as our role and what our role can be in helping you to do this. And then we'll answer an existential question here. And we direct it to our young panelists, knowing what I know now, when school reopens, I will do what? So that's what we will be discussing. And I am so excited to be joined by our panelists today. I will begin with the ladies. The first one is Herenia, and I have nicknamed her the positive one. This is because the first time I met Herenia, I was feeling particularly low about COVID, but Herenia reminded me that COVID is an opportunity. It has actually given us time to focus on what is important. Herenia is at the Starehe Girls School. She loves to play the trombone. Her role model is a gentleman called Clifford Watch, and because I know the band, I know he is on a fast track to going to heaven. And she loves the book Becoming by Michelle Obama. So it's very nice to have you here. Our second panelist is Rashid from the Rusinga School. And Rashid is 16 years old. And my nickname for Rashid is the single-minded one, only because I am yet to meet somebody as single-minded as focused as Rashid. Rashid is a mentor role model. Role model is Michael Jordan, which makes sense. Of course, it would be Michael Jordan. And he loves Sauti Sol. And the thing he wants to do the most is change the sports industry in Kenya. And his goal for living is to change the world. It's very nice to have you here, Rashid. Oh, and additionally, if you're looking for an MC, Rashid does that on the side. We will put his contacts below. And we will see how that goes. Our third and final panelist is Andrew. My nickname for him is the philosopher or the contrarian. Andrew can argue about anything, including whether the sky is blue or not. Andrew is 17 years old from 10 Work School. His role model is Jeff Koinange, and he has a cat called Kitty, and he enjoys a good argument. So thank you so much for doing this, and welcome to this. It's so exciting to have you here, and we look forward to doing this. What have you been doing during this pandemic period? How have you coped? School has been out from March. We are now in September. What have you done to cope with this situation?
You know, the whole COVID-19 just took us all by storm. You know, there was really no way to prep for what we'd be prepared for. So coming into this, it's being like thrown into just being at home. And so, of course, I've just been trying to achieve my goals. You know, I'm trying to not let this change what it is that I want in life. So I'm making sure that I'm reading hard, building my basketball skills. I hope to, you know, make a striking return back in school as an athlete, building my musical skills, playing guitar, learning more, and of course helping out the family with chores around the house. Yeah, so that's how I've just been keeping my mental health in check. I think it's something that every student and not even just teenagers, but every individual should just strive to become better and to spend that time doing something productive.
All right then. And Herenia, what are some of the challenges, the soft ones that you dealt with in this period? How have you coped?
Okay, so like one of the challenges I've really faced this period is being me. Occasionally we all like I used to just live like in a general world, but when COVID came in, I had to figure out who is Herenia, what do I want, when will I achieve this, and if it's not now, how will I do it, and when will I get it? When I was in school, I knew I was learning in a class, but when I'm at home, I just discovered, yes, I was learning in a class, but I was learning alone. Yeah, and that is where the difference came in. So I had to set my goals again. Despite the fact that I had set my goals in January, I had to reset them again. Why? Because COVID was like a puncture that somebody gets while traveling. COVID came in as a puncture in my life, but I took it so positive because I knew, yes, this is the time I have to work on where I have never worked on. And that is like one challenge I had in me. Where I come from, like not everybody has that self-pressure. And I had to get it from within me. And after getting it, I had to also convince other people. It's not very easy to persuade people to do what you're doing because you know it's right. Because you have to give them the reason and you have to prove it. And also, decision making. I know we're all different. And according to me, I always know there is no mistake that is just by nature. Every mistake is by choice. So this holiday was so long, and I knew I had to make right decisions, right friends, right strategy skills, right reading skills. And apart from all the challenges my family went through, I had to stand out. I had to be happy because I knew if I start as sympathizing, there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. If I start sympathizing with them, then we'll definitely fall. But if I could just that's why you called me positive. If I gave them the other positive side of COVID, and I was like, you don't have to be sad about this thing. You don't have to be mad about it. This is just the time to reunite, to make joy, to make family goals, and to achieve some of the goals we once had as a family. And yeah, and I think it worked for me. And it, as in the year for me, has just been so smooth, despite the fact that I thought this year would be rough. And I think that is what people are saying. 2020 is not my year, but I can tell you, 2020 is my year.
Wonderful. I feel like Herenia, we're in church and Herenia was preaching to me. I'm the one who needed to hear that 2020, even with everything that has happened, 2020 is still our year, you know?
Yeah.
Every mistake is a choice.
Yeah.
COVID is like a puncture. It is not a nuclear bomb. It's just a puncture. You can fix that.
Sure. Yeah,
and we can reset our goals. Thank you so much, Herenia. I mean, I think those nuggets of wisdom should be packaged somewhere. Andrew, tell us, what have you done personally and on a daily basis to stay healthy, mentally and emotionally and physically in every way?
Okay. I was saying that one good thing with this corona pandemic is that it has helped us realize that we have something. At least we should be always ready for anything. And one thing that really affected me when the schools were closed was stress. So at the beginning of this year, I was so anxious to see how the whole year would fare on, owing to the fact that I was a Form 4, in this case, a candidate. So the whole thing just came to a halt that one evening when the corona pandemic compelled our president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, to close the schools. So when I personally landed home, obviously my mind was in twos, like one part was joyous and the other one depressed. The joy was because now I had much of free time to conduct my personal studies and revision. Okay, the other part was that I feared for the worst that has now happened. Repeating again in Form 4. By the way, guys, that marked the beginning of another life outside the school environment where I had to fight both emotional and physical stress. Actually, I only have two good things that have helped me to cope with this situation this far. Number one, it is that I have learned how to manage my anxiety, and I've realized that for me to deal with the stress thing, I have to focus more on things I can handle and leave alone those beyond my reach.
All right. That's fantastic to hear, Andrew. And we have to discuss that. We have to discuss what it meant to repeat at some point. And I'm glad you're still standing strong, pushing through. I think it has to do with the caliber of people around you. I think the caliber of adults around you is fantastic, all three of you. Now, having tackled that, we do have a presentation from one of our panelists, Rachid. And in order to go on to the next bit of this webinar, because it's such a live issue, screen time and social media, we want to hear from our young panelists how to manage screen time and how to use social media constructively. So Rash, please lead us.
All right. So when this topic came to me, the first thing I thought was, what's societal dependency on screen time during COVID-19? The question was, how much is too much? So just trying to get some research done, I thought to myself, what jobs, if let's say life was normal, what jobs tend to utilize the most of computers? And the first thing that comes to mind is a programmer, maybe a data analyst or designers. They spend their hours in front of a computer screen, and yet, despite that lengthy amount of time that they're there, they go in and out every single day and are still able to maintain their mental health. So is it really the screen that is bringing us the issue, or is it something completely different? I think I came to the conclusion that screen time is dependent on how much, on really what your goals are as an individual. Allow me to transition to the next slide. So when taking it online, what positives and negatives do we have? If we have mindful activity, what I had mentioned prior, what are your goals when you're online? Then could that affect our mental health, and could that affect our safety online? So when we're online, we have, as a student, I tend to be using my time to do school projects or research. It's always good to be up to date. Learning more about our role models. Whatever passion that you have, you tend to go online and study further about it. And of course, interaction with friends and family. With my family specifically, we occasionally have a couple of Zoom calls, maybe not so frequently, but we do have the tendency to meet up and just interact with one another, despite being in different parts of the country. So that's always something that I always look forward to, and we always have a great time whenever we do that. So after looking at the positives, what are the negatives? If we're not mindful and we end up spending our time online excessively, what can happen is we get attention problems, maybe sleep disorders. You may find that it's approaching your bedtime and you just want to check, one more YouTube video before I go to sleep. Excessive activity online is academic failures in school. We all know that if we spend too much time, we end up missing out on time to study. Also, obesity. This one is kind of looking at the physical aspect. Taking too much time online, you're not going outside enough to go and just burn those calories that you've been eating the whole day. And of course, damage to your eyes, as looking at the screen for a long amount of time can be extremely, extremely detrimental. And exposure to explicit content that we do not want the youth of our generation and anyone to be accessing. And of course, cyberbullying, something that has led to the detriment of mental health in the youth in our society. So how do we have screen time safely and make sure that those negatives don't come in effect and that we're able to maximize our time when we're taking it to the web? A quote that I like to use is that just like eating food, watching entertainment is more fulfilling after you have worked up an appetite. It's always good to just take a break, whether it's 15, 30 minutes or an hour, to just go outside and just better your surroundings. Another way we can have safe screen time is to not use maximum brightness as the sun begins to set. And finally, on social media, if you're heavily dependent on social media as our youth is actually. Fill up on following your role models, people who inspire you. Seeing them every day on your feed will just inspire you to get better at what you want to get better at. Yeah. So it's always good to have someone to just guide you and to take you to the passions that you need. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Back to you, Ms. Jane.
I feel somewhat targeted because I didn't know I ought to turn off the brightness on my computer at night. And today I've learned something new, that watching entertainment is like eating. It works an appetite. That's fantastic. I think that is a lesson for the ages that we have to take on now, and that we need to feel that, what can we call it? Social media is not going anywhere, but the way how you utilize it is what makes all the difference. So we need to have mindful activity. Now, Hereni, I want to ask you something based off that presentation. And I want to know, from you and your friends, how often are you online? How many of you are on social media? 16, 17, 18?
Okay. I got in touch in social media like when I joined high school. That is when I was in Form 1. So in our class, you find like a lot of people are into social media. And according to me, I discovered that social media is just here to stay. It's not going anywhere. 2 years to come, 3 years to come, in fact, it will be more advanced than it is right now. So I knew there's no hurry. I can see what I want to see at the right time, when I'm done with my chores, when I'm relaxing. Having a routine on everything you do. The way you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, and you eat supper should be the same way you get access to social media. So I'm speaking of two main things: access control and having a routine. I'm sure once you become so addictive into social media, being on people's page, stalking people, I think you'll just lazy around and it'll be so idle. Because I told myself, I even told my sister, so when I'm offline, it doesn't bring any less of me anywhere. I thought like being online should be something that is like a necessity in my life. But once in a while, I've always been offline, and I don't feel less or more human. I just feel the normal Hereni over there. And I said, so I took social media on another platform. I think this is just a platform I can be getting information that I really need, not information that I don't need. Because I think young people have information they don't need, but they can be able to source out information they need. Yeah, like Rashid said, you can check on universities you want to go in. I want to become an international lawyer. Trust me, every month I check on best universities. I need to apply for a scholarship. I need to see what is going on. Has it been changed? Has the system been changed on being a lawyer? And sometimes I can check on my, like, just doing things with a routine, not very much, but like kind of frequently. So just to narrow everything down, you have to have your own routine, and you also have to check on your access control.
Okay.
There are a lot of stuff, but you have to decide what you want to know and want to get.
I think if I was holding a mic or you were holding a mic, that would have been the point to drop it. I mean, we could close this webinar now and consider ourselves wise. Access control and have a routine. I feel like you're my parents talking to me. It's fantastic, really. Andrew, I want to know something from you. What works best for young people where access and use of social media is concerned? Is it self-regulation, or is it when parents or adults or teachers tell you what to do or what not to do? What has worked for you?
Okay, with me, what has worked best for me is just self-regulation, because a parent cannot control everything that you want to do, and he or she will not be there always to see what you are doing or what you're not doing. So self-regulation, that self-discipline is what we all need, so that everything will go as planned.
Okay then, and What are the popular apps, Andrew? Which ones are you on?
Okay, my popular apps are WhatsApp, number one.
Okay.
Number two, we have YouTube. And then number three, Facebook.
Is that the same for you, Rashid? Are those the apps are those your go-to social media apps?
Actually, no, but I think that's the beauty behind social media. You have a lot of.
What are yours? I'm curious.
What am I on? Oh man, I'm on everything. Of course, my main go-to app is probably Instagram. I'm quite active there. But other than that, it's actually just Instagram. You know, I just spend my time on social media. I mean, apart from WhatsApp, of course.
Okay, and you, Herenia? I'm hoping you say Facebook.
Yeah, I think I go along with Rashid. I think apart from WhatsApp is just Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So none of you are going to fix this and say, Jane, it's okay. You're not really okay. Anyway, I am truly. I've learned a lot. Routine, access control, and again, as the adult in the room, I am learning too, and I'm hearing, and I'm so happy that it is you telling us that you self-regulate and you do all these things, and it is fantastic. I want to ask all three of you to give me 30 seconds each of what a parent can do to convince teachers to understand the need for responsibility and self-drive during COVID-19. And I ask this question because just listening to the three of you, you are all so self-driven, so focused. This time I'll start with Andrew. How can we convince our children, our teenagers, that they need to be responsible and self-driven during COVID, after COVID, forever really? How can we do that?
Okay. So the best way I think parents should do is that they should at least create a dialogue during the family meetings with their children, so that at least they choose a better way for them to be able to convince their children on how to spend their time on this social media.
All right then, Herenia, how can we drive self-drive responsibility? How can we drive it?
Okay, so I'll be more personal. So I have just three short statements that I saw it from my mom. So one, I think avoiding community and environmental pressure. So I think parents, I think the generation is really changing. So I think parents should try and understand that children nowadays are not the same children we can talk about 10 years ago. And I think while referring to a child, you want the child to be responsible. You have to not be so general, be more personal. Talk about the child, not other children. I think when you are more into decision making, you have that self-drive automatically from you. So I think when parents try to inquire what your views are on some certain issues in the family, I think you will not even be asked to be responsible. You will be responsible. Why? Because that is what you also hedge your view on. Third, be more engaging. I think parents should nowadays, any decision that is made in the family, I think all children can be allowed to. We don't have the same mindset on certain issues, but I think when we come together as children, we can just have one decision that all of us can do. As I said earlier, when you take part in decision making, you will never be asked to do something. You will do it from you. Why? Because you said it. And what you say is what you possess. Yeah.
Okay. Seriously, Herenia, I may ask you to move in just that way. I have 3 points for you, Jane. This is what you're doing with yourself today. I may ask you to do that. Rashid, what can you tell us about this, about how to sell self-drive and responsibility?
I feel like for my answer, it's a bit of an odd one, or rather, it's the odd one out from everyone else. My answer would be that I do, like, parents kindly don't give up on us. Don't give up on us kids. Reason I say that is because as much as I promote students or even teenagers being able to discover themselves and really define purpose for themselves, I don't think I'd be the young man that I am today without the intervention of my parents, always guiding me to be the best that I can be. I always think of my parents, and actually in my house, I live with people who are twice my age, 3 times my age. So that's like a whole, 3 generations in one household. And
it's not that bad. I'm feeling old. To be
yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of wisdom. Yeah, there's experiences that each of them have gone through that I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, at my young age, as much as I'd like to think that I know a lot of things, it's them who have really just gone through life, right? And they just want my experience to be better, the best that they can be. Yeah, and for me to kind of disregard that that kind of influence in my life would just be dishonorable to my family. So what I encourage parents to do is just to continue guiding us. Yeah, make us do house chores. Yeah, it teaches me responsibility. I know I've talked about house chores twice now, but I think like just showing me it's those experiences like that teach me that Rashid, as you grow older, you will have to meet expectations in life. Things aren't always going to be as easy as they are. Yes, you found your purpose, you know what you want to do, but life is going to keep giving you responsibilities that you need to take care of. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned from my parents. And I wouldn't ask for anything else from them.
So it's really nice to hear that, that as parents and as the adults in the room, we've got to allow the children to give their views. We've got to engage them. We've got to be personal, as somebody described it, and we've got to dialogue. We've got to talk. One-on-one, we've got to talk, and we cannot give up on our kids. Now, on that very, very high note, I do want to run a poem, and I'll just go to it. And really, what we do with these polls is use them to inform policy and to frame arguments that would be helpful to this country. So please take the poll. I'm just going to run it now. And the results are actually quite interesting. The bulk of people would like schools to be partially opened. 23% want them reopened fully. 53% want them partially opened. 23% want them closed, and there is a percentage that doesn't know. So that's quite interesting. So I want to bring this back to our panelists. Andrew, do you want schools opened or closed?
Schools should be opened.
Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
The reason is because here at home, life is just a hell. Life is a hell. Life is so difficult here at home. So one thing that I just wish is that I want schools be open, because if they are going to be opened, at least I'm going to improve my studying habits, based not on what I've always been hearing of and reading of, but experience. Life here at home is just not that easy.
Okay, those are Andrew's views. Rashid, as we wait for somebody to get us back, Herenia.
I want schools to remain closed. Well, if COVID is continuing, yeah, it's in our best interest that schools remain closed. I'm looking out for the wananchi of our nation. I don't want us to have any cases. If you look at France, they had a situation where they reopened schools too early, and in a matter of days, they went back into lockdown situation. So I don't want us to do anything that's too rushed. I don't want us to be hasty. If COVID-19 is still a threat, let schools be closed. Okay,
then that's actually good to know. as people as people who help in the formulation of policy and as stakeholders in education, our stated position is the same. We don't see the need of repeating. It's 8 years of school. 1 year does not invalidate 8 years or 4 years of school. But there are ongoing discussions, Andrew, and I think perhaps it is safe to say there is hope. So I will assume your home is hell has a lot to do with I have to repeat a class. That is what I will assume. Andrew, the experience was different for you. You did not have to rush a year. What was it? What has been the hardest thing to deal with in this period for you?
Okay.
Yes.
Earlier on, I mentioned something about stress. Managing stress here at home is not that easy for me because number one, at least for me to manage stress, I had to sacrifice some of my friends and I had to sacrifice some of the activities that I used to love most.
Yeah.
That's good to know. There is a member of the audience, Mr. Wasike, who asks, I think, the question that is on the back of everybody's mind. If COVID is to be here with us for better part of next year, shall candidates sit or not do exams for 2 years in a row? What of the backlog? So that is it's two-way. You cannot negotiate with the virus, but then we have this living, breathing issue. And what I'd like to assure our panelists is that these issues are not taken lightly, and they're being discussed exhaustively, and we hope that there is some light at the end of the tunnel at some point. Now, I want to know something and I'll start with Andrew now that you're back. Can you hear us, Andrew?
Yes.
Wonderful, and I can see Herenia is back too. What has been the role of your teachers during this period of COVID?
Pardon?
What has been the role of your teachers? Have you been in contact at all with them?
Okay, my teachers. Okay, I studied at Stenwick High School, and so my teachers have at least been trying to keep in touch with us through the Zoom calls and WhatsApp group discussions. At least we've been doing something, if not that's what we expected.
That you've told me the role of your teachers. What has been the role of your parents during this time of the pandemic?
During this time of the pandemic, really, I've not been staying with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Your guardian? My guardian.
Yes.
Okay. I really don't. Let Rashid at least say something before I say something.
No problem. So Rashid, tell us, what has been the role of your teachers? What has been the role of your parents?
All right, teachers. My relationship with my teachers has actually really strengthened. I feel like, in A-level, when, sitting my A-levels, we really just start to engage with our teachers more and more, and they've started to become friends. Yeah, of course, I still respect them as my teachers, and there's no way that, that is degraded at any sort. But my teachers continue to be a motivating factor to continue to push on and to continue to study hard. And they always, they provide great insights as experts in their field of study to teach me the best education that there is. And, makes me feel really engaged and happy to have people that support me in the subjects that I want to do. My parents are the same. They've always been a motivating factor with whatever subject that I'm doing or anything like that. They always say, that's Rashid, that's fine, but make sure that you give it 100%, 110%. Yeah, and that's something that I'm really grateful for, because it's always that I'm a competitive guy, right? So it's that drive to be the best. They continue to motivate me. Even my parents just they continue to work, and that's something that also makes me happy.
Andrew, do you feel ready to answer that? What do you have a response?
Yes. Okay. During this pandemic, I've not been in a situation to stay with my parents, but at least I've been staying with my guardian.
Yeah.
He has been of some support, but okay, what he has been supporting me of is that at least trying to get to ensure that I'm in constant touch with my teachers in school, and
Okay.
at least there was a point when I'd lost hope in life. Yes, I'd lost hope when there was that period when just when our professor, that is our professor of education, Magoa, said that the schools are not going to be reopened this year. They're going to be reopened in the coming year, that is next year. So that really meant something big to me. So that time, then my guardian came in and tried at least to give me some comfort and some hope in life. So that is what, but to a larger percentage, has not contributed much. That is what I feel.
Yes, I will say this. I will say what I hear from you, Rashid, and from you, Andrew, is that your parents and your guardians have grounded you, given you perspective, and enabled and given the resources to keep you connected to learning, which is very useful. I also think I hear Rashid's, not Rashid's, but Andrew's extreme dissatisfaction with the schools reopening in January and having to repeat an academic year. That one package was too much. Perhaps it should have been broken down into smaller, biteable, chewable pieces. So that's what I hear from you, Andrew. Before I ask the same question to Herenia, who's now back with us, I want to say something to you, Andrew. You are more than your exams. In the grand scheme of things, they're very small, tiny, minuscule, what can we call it, part of your life. They do not define you. They never have, they never will. Okay, and we will get back to that. Herenia, are you with us? Can you hear us? Please unmute your mic.
Good, and yeah, I'm back. Sorry for the
no worries, it happens. I just wanted to know, how have your parents helped you during this pandemic time? What would you have loved? And if you were a parent, tell me, what would you do to help yourself in this, to help your child in this COVID time?
Okay, so when I left school, because we had to come back home, I knew the break was like a 2 weeks break, and I was like, okay, after 2 weeks I'll be back in school. But when I noticed I had to stay home for the whole year, I talked to my parent, that is my mom, about it. And this is the time that I knew everybody who makes you learn is a teacher. And that is when my mom had to play the role of being a teacher and the role of being a parent to me. And I saw the energy from my parent, at least each and every day when I was like, it's my study time, they gave me the room. And after reading, however much she didn't have the knowledge in what I was reading about, but at least I could see the interest. She didn't tell me I don't know this, but at least she could tell me, I know you've done a mistake, counter-check your work. And that is where I now knew everybody is a teacher. And if I were a parent, I think I could have done the same thing my mom did to me. I could have not looked on what other students, what other parents are doing to their students. The way my mom never researched of what she could have done, because we have so many people who have different resources, but at least we were content with what we had. The little books I had and my sister's past papers is what we've been using. I could have still done the same. I had to make a timetable, trust me, and I had to stick it next to my bed. Each and every day I could wake up and see, I have to wake up at 7:30 a.m. I have to do mathematics every day, and I had to follow it. And my mom could just randomly check my book, and she's like, "Oh, so you did your work." And I still feel like there's no difference between me and the person who has been paid for maybe a Zoom class or an online class because I'm reading and they're reading. I'm contented and they're also contented. Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good to know. I feel like I'm in a class with three wise people. Truly, I am blown away. I am learning. I am understanding what actual mental strength and persistence and pushing through things means. I'm getting that a lot from Andrew. I am understanding attitude makes a difference. I'm getting that from Herenia, and I'm getting from Rashid that just get up and get on with it. Get on with it. What I'm hearing, and I love it. I love that everyone who makes you learn is a teacher. So the evolving role of parents here is they are teachers too. So we are learning that you're beginning to see us in that, parents and guardians, that they're teachers too. And perhaps the advice for us as parents is not to take it lightly. You therefore have expectations of us, and we should not take it lightly. Now, there's a question from our audience, and I would like to know from the three of you, from the three people who must actually open schools, what proposal would you give the Ministry of Education as a proposal to reopen? How would you like to reopen schools? I think I want to start with the person that has said we need to reopen now, Mr. Andrew. Say, Sema Sai, how do you want these schools to reopen?
Okay, the reason why I want schools to reopen now is at least I want each and every one of the of children in Kenya to have equal at least to have equal resources so that they can compete favorably. You know, the problem is that currently there are some students who are in an environment that they're not able to even concentrate in reading.
So equity, and how do you want that to open? Like, when Tenwak, when we are told schools can open, how do you want Tenwak to open? Do you want to get into school and wash your hands and sanitize? But what do you want to see in school once we reopen? How do you want to do this?
Okay, if it is washing hands, let there be water. Let's wash our hands. Let's have sanitizers. Let's have even masks. But at least we be in school. Yes.
Oh, so you
minimum.
The thing to do is open schools. We can sort out the nitty-gritty as we go along. And I think I want to give this next to Rashid, who is the polar opposite of Andrew and wants to stay close. So if we have to reopen, Rashid, how do you want Rusinga to look like? How do you want to reopen?
First thing, I just want to say I admire Andrew's enthusiasm, to get us to reopen. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, we can.
All right. If Rusinga was to open, you know that I wanted to open under the most ideal circumstances. Of course, students should be wearing masks. I think we should have sanitization, stations, where people just come wash their hands. Even if it's singing the happy birthday song for 20 seconds, make sure that your hands are clean. I don't know, if we resume school, would it mean withdrawing the younger students out of school? Because, the younger kids are the ones that are most prone, to contracting even a flu, something so mild. And it's so heartbreaking to see young kids, sick, especially with something as deadly as corona. So maybe that might be the case. Extract the young kids, have the older kids, maybe high school and above, maybe even just A-level. Maybe that's me being selfish, but I'm just spitballing some ideas. Maybe during lunchtime.
Okay.
Maybe just one more. Lunchtime, I saw internationally in the UK, they have like a barrier that in their small lunch tables. So let's say we have a round lunch table, there's like a wall of some sort of plastic, that kind of just separates you in a contamination zone from your other students. So something like that. I mean, we can just get creative. Yeah.
Okay, so creativity. is what I hear. And cautious reopening. That's what you'd like. Herenia, when you get back, how do you want Starehe reopened?
Oh yeah, so first, I know health is wealth, and I'm so eager to open school, and I'm so happy that you gave me that question. So when I want to go into Starehe, I think I'd like to see all advices of keeping ourselves safe are followed. You have to put on your mask, you wash your hands or sanitize your hands, maintain a social distance of maybe 1 meter or 1.5. I'm really so 100% sure that all these precautions can be taken, but on the 1 meter or 1.5, it might be like so challenging. So COVID, looking it at a scientifical way, it's a virus, yeah? And when you are taught in school, viruses don't have cure. We might only have vaccines. So I'm sure this thing is here to stay. So I think if we open school even next week, yeah, we need that time to prepare ourselves, to get the necessity for schooling. But once we open school, I'm sure, I just hope that all precautions will be followed. And I think every student, everybody can get a chance to go back to school, because by this we'll be able to curb very negative effects that have just come up, mental disorders or mental health, early pregnancies, drug abuse. Yeah, and I think we'll at least have an economic balance. Yeah.
I feel like your teachers may have misled me. There's no one here who's 16 or 17 or 18. I feel like I'm talking to like 30-year-olds. It is somewhat confusing. But those are fantastic points. What I hear from you is we have to be prepared. Schools need to be reopened to even out the playing field so that everybody has access. I like what Herenia has said in understanding the challenges of our public schools, that space is really an issue. I really like that from the mouths of babes, or from the people who will actually have to interact with education and schools, that there is an understanding of what can be done and what can't be done. Andrew, I'm coming to you. So I want your final remarks. So Andrew, in addition to what you will tell us, I do want an answer from each of you in your closing remarks. I want you to answer this question for me, knowing what I know now. All the lessons of COVID, everything you've been through in this period, everything you've learned, everything you've done, knowing what I know now, when schools reopen, what will I do? So Andrew, I'll start with you.
Okay. What I wanted to add on what I said last time is that at least let the government give a ear to what the students have to say on reopening schools. We can't underestimate each and every student that they don't know what they want for themselves. At least in that school environment where we have no space for social distance, there may be a small mind that has the solution to that thing. So at least let the government give an ear to what the students have to say on reopening schools. Okay, back to now the question based on what I know. Okay, the thing is this now. When schools reopen, I'm not going to make any joke again with education. That is as for me. The reason is because I've at least tested life minus that education and seen how it tests. Yes, because I've learned on how experience is the best teacher through how experience is the best teacher through that experience. Because books really have been considered to be the greatest source of knowledge, but really through experience, I've seen a lot through this COVID pandemic holiday. So I think, at least in a nutshell, I'm going to improve my studying habits, basing not on what I've always been reading and being told, but experience. Yeah.
Okay then. Thank you. So Andrew is not playing with books. If ever there was a lesson he needed, he has learned it. We will keep tabs on that, Andrew, and I wish you the very, very best of luck. It is not lost on me that you are a candidate. And so there's a lot riding on this one. I will say again, you are not your exam, and the exam is not you. But that said, I am sure you will do fantastic. Next, I want Herenia. Knowing what I know now, what would you do different? What will you do when you get to school?
As I went up, I had one quote I really wanted to share. So when I was going online, I saw one of these quotes and it really got into me. So this author said, your problem is to bridge the gap which exists between where you are now and the goal you intend to reach. So that answers the question you asked me. When I get back to school, I will maximize every opportunity I get to read. I think that is, I can't explain it. I think that's just the best part of it. I will maximize everything. And then there's just one statement I really also had to say to summarize everything I've been talking about. So it goes this way. Decisions made on education or learning should also have a kind of approval by students. One thing for sure, if the education system in the generation to come will be of this kind, or will be as boring to some extent like this one, we will be the ones to be blamed, not the government by then, but us. Why? Because we knew of the problem earlier on, but we didn't do anything to bridge the gap.
Seriously, Herenia, I really, really will carry you and bring you to live with me. Rashid, what would you do different? What will you do different?
I agree with my peers. I'm going to seize this opportunity to just really engage in my books. Something my dear auntie told me is that, Rashid, you need to take your education with both hands. You need to hold it with both hands. And so that's what I look to do. As a leader in my school, I look to just really maximize on projects to make sure that I inspire future generations and to really just make a difference, because we don't know when a pandemic can strike us again. So, yeah.
All right then. As we end that, I'm just going to do. I just want to poll something else, and I will ask the indulgence of our audience to please take this one. And this one really is, given a choice, which of the following options would you select? Would you repeat the academic year? Would you have accelerated learning? Would you have all students not sitting for exams but promoted to the next class? You don't know. I'd love to see that, please. If you can and you're still on, please participate in that. And I'll read out the results because they're interesting. Accelerated learning wins with 57%. 14%, all students not to sit for exams, but they go to the next class anyway. And repeat the academic year, only 23% of our audience feel that that's a thing. So like I said, it's a live discussion, and we hope to come to some sort of conclusion by the time we recall or reopen learning, because those are two different things: reopening schools and reopening learning, and we need to get on that. So I think I've done all the polls, and so I really just want to say, and I have to wind this down, I really just want to say thank you to Andrew, to Herenia, and to Rashid. It's been an absolute joy to meet you and to engage with you. I have come off the wiser. There's someone in the audience who says that the mind of a teenager is at its peak and of imagination and creativity. And if utilized well, they can come up with great innovations. And Andrew said, let kids go back to school. They'll figure out how to create social distance. And just listening to the three of you, I actually think it's possible that perhaps the solution to our issues lies in your hands. So it's been an absolute an absolute pleasure doing this with you. On the side to our audience, we came here to listen and learn to these young people so that we just don't make decisions for them without knowing whether they are best for them, whether they suit them, whether they want to do it. So we would really like to continue with this type of webinars, just listening, sitting and listening to the kids and the young people and learning from them. So we'd like to know how often you would want this type of webinars. And if you want to be a guest, a young panelist, we are open, we are welcoming those. The email address is info@myhappyplace.co.ke. So if you're here and you'd like to be a young panelist, or if you're a parent here and your child would like to participate, please write to us on that email and somebody will respond. And please let us know how often you'd like to do this, and which topics you'd like them to tell us about. I'm a parent, so I will be saying I want to know about social media. I want to know why my son periodically tries to jump off buildings. If one of you could answer that, it would be fantastic. In the name of playing, I also don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. So that is something we'd really like to know. So thank you again to our panelists. I don't take this for granted. I think you've done a fantastic job. I am challenged. I have learned. And I think from the chat section, it is safe to say that we've all heard. We'll all be calling ourselves to order. We will all be trying to routine our lives and our social media. We'll try to engage. This, I think you have a problem as young people with social media. The adult space is much, much worse. So we will be trying, at least the very people who are in this audience, will be trying to take social media like food. Work up an appetite for it and be mindful. And so I also want to thank the audience. You've been fantastic. It's been a hip and happening chat. Some of the things we have seen here, we will use. There's a person actually on the audience who sits on the COVID-19 Education Task Force. This webinar to talk to policymakers the next time. So all these concerns you have, this deep need you have to get back to school, it will be communicated. I also want to thank KPSA, Mutheu Kasanga, Kesha, Indimuli Kahi, Kepsha. I represent KAIS, the Kenya Association of International Schools. I'd like to thank Mr. Clifford Oluoch, Ms. Patricia Chesa Karaoke, and Ms. Fatima Mohammed, as the people who put together this collection of who put the character webinars on the map and made our young panelists happen. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Ali's Own Productions, the video we watched. I'd like to thank PMS Africa Group through Joan. I'd love to thank Tifa Research through Maggie, because they've been very good in putting together the polls that we use for advocacy. And I'd like to thank the My Happy Place team. They know themselves. I think today would be a nice day to mention them, Bernice and Kevin. Thank you for making this happen all the time. And again, thank you to you, our young panelists, for doing this and doing this so well. Please do have yourselves a fantastic evening, and I'll see you again next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
All right then.